left a bit of your mind. So verse 15, I want to read that again, and then we're going to jump over to Isaiah. See, I am coming as a thief. Blessed is he who is staying awake and guarding his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. So we've addressed the thief. We've addressed that doesn't necessarily mean that this has to come upon you suddenly. It doesn't mean that it has to come upon you as a thief, because if you're a child of the light, then you are staying awake, and we just read that as well. It says here, you know, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. Now let's look at that. Isaiah 61:10.
Hallelujah.
There you go.
Isaiah chapter 61, verse 10. And it reads, I greatly rejoice in Yahweh. My being exalts in my Elohim, for he has put garments of deliverance on me. He has covered me with the robe of righteousness, as a bridegroom decks himself with ornaments, and as a bride adorns herself with her jewels.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
So again, what is our covering? What is that which should not be shown? What is the nakedness that he was speaking of there? Because again, back in Revelation it says guarding his garments. So one, we read right there in Isaiah that the garments, it spoke to righteousness. And also spoke to his deliverance, his salvation, and that's yes, garments of deliverance. And we also know that in order to be considered in that number, that it always goes back to what? Obedience. Obedience. That's what righteousness is.
That's right.
That's all it is. So, I could, and I would encourage you all to actually do a little bit of this. Read through, if you read Ezekiel, I think it's the 22nd chapter. And Ezekiel, let me, hold on one second, I'll turn to it. I'm not going to read through it now, but just so that you have an understanding of the other side. So there is Yeshua saying, don't let this happen unless your nakedness be shown. Well, if you read through chapter 22, chapter 23, you will completely understand the other side of that. And really what it's talking about, and the nakedness being declothed of your righteousness, and the results of that. And also who. And because this is also end time prophecy, it's tying directly in with what's taking place even with Babylon. You'll see Babylon mentioned all through there as well. So I would encourage you I'm not going to go through it now, but read through those 2 chapters and you will get, probably go even further. The 22 and 23 will get you a good start. So let's get back to Revelation. So, but one of the key things there is that where it says guarding his garments.
Right.
So that again, what does Yahweh say about us? He said we are to guard His commands.
Yes.
We have to guard it. We have to guard His Sabbath. We have to guard walking in His Torah. Because too often people want to come up to you and say it's okay to do that. Don't sweat that. Or like I've had somebody even as recent as this week say, oh, just take that off your sandwich. And then it's still okay to eat. And I'm like, no, Yahweh has called me to guard. If I got to go hungry, I will. Because I'm going to guard His command. And there it says guarding His garments. You have to take control of that situation. So we're getting into now the seventh bowl. And with that, this last bowl is poured out into the air. And that messenger, or it says a voice, doesn't say whose voice, it just says a voice came out of the dwelling place of the heaven from the throne saying, it is done. It is done. The wrath. And think about this. Oh man, think about this. When's the last place we saw a phrase like that?
Right.
Exactly. What was that done out of? Out of what?
Out of love.
Out of love. What does he say right here? It says a voice cried from the throne saying, it is done. It is finished. This time, what is it out of?
Wrath.
Wrath.
Yes.
The wrath, the love. He came, laid down His life, and He said, it is finished. And now as He's pouring out His wrath, He says, it is finished. You can be in the love, you can be in the wrath.
That's right. Choose Jesus said.
Let me get through the end. I'll be through in no time. All right, so that gets us to the seventh bowl, and gets us into the seventh bowl. Again, he opens that up with a voice crying from the throne saying that it is done. And it says there were noises and thunders and lightnings and an earthquake, a great earthquake. And we talked about that before. We saw a great earthquake take place in the seals as well. And it spoke to one earthquake. It spoke to lightnings and thunders, and there it spoke to different things happening. Then it says an earthquake. Just one big earthquake. And with this particular one, it says that has never been since man has been on the earth. And it says that the great city was divided into 3 parts, and that Yahweh then remembered Babel, those who came against Him. It wasn't just Babel, it was the thought process. It was those who can set their throne above God's. So then it says here at the end of 16 that great hail came from the heaven and fell on men. And it says they weighed a talent. Anybody mind guessing how much a talent might weigh?
A bear. Same as a bear.
Well, it's 57 to 80 pounds.
As the,
And in some places it says, depending on if it's silver, it could be up to 100 pounds. And if it's gold, it could be up to 200 pounds.
And that's one hailstone. That's one hailstone.
to the size of a bear.
Yeah, we did have one.
Yeah, the hail was the size of a bear.
I mean, almost 80, well, 57, it says 57, 80 pounds, so that's got to be a pretty big size of ice and water there.
That's a big of ice.
Yeah.
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 That's all on me.
Alright, so that gets us into chapter 17. I'm sorry, 17. Alright. So now the 7 bowls have been poured out, or the 7th really is happening. So being poured out. And 17 is getting into a vision or some events that took place where, again, Yohanan and John was taken and shown some things, and it says, "Come, I shall show you the judgment of the great whore sitting on many waters." And it talks about, it says, and with whom the sovereigns of the earth committed whoring, and the inhabitants of the earth were made drunk with the wine of her whoring. So, speaks again to Yohanan being carried out into the wilderness. And here's what he saw. He saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast. And the beast was covered with names of blasphemy and had 7 heads, 10 horns. 7 heads, 10 horns. And again, this is the description of the beast, the scarlet beast. The woman was sitting on the beast at this point. And it says the woman was dressed in purple and scarlet and adorned with gold and precious metals and pearls, holding in her hand a golden cup filled with abominations and filthiness of her whoring. So, sin don't look bad. She didn't look bad. She wasn't unattractive. And when we get to the end, it'll begin to describe what these things represent. But it wasn't unenticing. It didn't look wrong. It looked right. It didn't look broke. It looked prosperous. It didn't look cursed. It looked blessed.
It looked.
Yeah, appeared to be. But, and it says on her head, was written a secret, Babel the Great, the mother of the whorers and of the abominations of the earth. And it says, and I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the set apart ones, the blood of the witnesses of Yeshua. And having seen her, he marveled, and told him not to marvel as he was about to go into what all these things were. So now we're going to get into that. So, alright, so now let's go to Daniel 12, Daniel chapter 12. And we are coming to an end here. We're going to read a couple scattered. I keep turning past it. All right, chapter 12. Let's read verse 1, verse 4, verse 9, and verse 10. So verse 1. Now at that time, Michael shall stand up, the great head who is standing over the sons of your people. And there shall be a time of distress, such as never was seen, never was, since there was a nation until that time. And at that time your people shall be delivered, everyone who is found written in the book. Now, verse 4. And that reads, "But you, Daniel, hide the words and seal the book until the time of the end. Many shall diligently search, and knowledge shall increase." I'm going to read that again. "But you, Daniel, hide the words and seal the book until the end." But it says later, next, "Many shall diligently search, and knowledge shall increase." So knowledge is going to increase, but the truth has been hidden. So that lets us know. People, and when we get back to Revelation, we'll read it. But people are going to think they got this figured out because knowledge is increasing. But it says here that the book is sealed. And we read that actually earlier when we were reading through the 7 trumpets, I believe. Oh, the 7 seals.